All right, welcome everybody. This is Dave DeBow, and our topic for tonight is the 5 steps to rent-to-own success, how to make big cash up front, outstanding monthly cash flow, and nice checks at closing. So I want to welcome everyone to tonight's online event. This is by far the most popular webinar that we've put on here at Canadian Profits to date. Last time I checked a few minutes ago, there were 1,194 people registered for tonight's webinar. So that is definitely very, very exciting. So I want to welcome you all and let you know that you made a wise decision to spend a few moments with us tonight, a little while with us tonight, and learn all about how to get up and running with rent-to-own real estate investing. So we've got a lot of people just coming on board, so we'll get started here in a second. All right, and I want to also send out a big shout out to my good friend and business associate, Darren Weeks. I want to thank Darren and the gang at Fast Track for promoting tonight's online event, and that's why we've got the most popular event to date with almost 1,200 people registered. So let's jump right in and talk about the 5 steps to rent-to-own success. And what I want to do is ask you a few questions first. So have you ever wondered what it would feel like to quit your job and be a full-time real estate investor? How about getting $500, $800, or even $1,000 a month positive cash flow per door? How'd you like to replace your full-time income with just 4 or 5 little rent-to-own deals? How about doing what you want, when you want, and with whom you want? And if you've got any experience with real estate investing, how do you like the idea of not having to deal with those pain in the bleep tenants and toilets? None of the normal landlord headaches of traditional buy and hold real estate investing. So tonight we're on a online event. This is a little bit different than speaking face-to-face or in person. So to get a little bit of interaction, what I'd like you to do is use a little option that you've got there for raising your hands. If you've got questions, you're welcome to type in your questions as well. And just because we've got so many people on the line tonight, I don't think I'm going to be able to open it up completely to answer every single question. But if you do send them in, we'll be happy to answer them either offline later on, or I'll send you a quick email response. So just to get things started, make sure that everybody can hear me. Raise your hand or put up your hand if you can hear me all right on tonight's webinar. So just do that little hand icon and go ahead and click on that if you can hear me all right. All right, I see all sorts of hands coming up. That's fantastic. Good. So it sounds like everybody can hear me all right. Perfect. So I'm going to be asking some questions here from time to time, and if you'd like, what you can do is put up your hand to acknowledge a yes. So putting up a hand would be the equivalent of saying yes. All right. So the question is, how would you like me to share with you how to get a deal in the next 60 to 90 days that will make you $20,000, $30,000, or even $40,000 in net profits? All right, I see a whole bunch of hands going up for that. How'd you like to be able to replace your current JOB income with just a few little easy rent-to-own deals? Perfect. And how'd you like a proven step-by-step system that will virtually guarantee you doing a profitable rent-to-own deal? Well, like I say, you're definitely in the right place, and this is the 5 steps to rent-to-own success, and let's jump right in. So in the next 75 minutes, I promise you 2 things. How many things? 2 things. First, I'm going to show you, and secondly, I'm going to teach you how to do the rent-to-own business right here in Canada. This is proven to work right here in Canada because I'm Canadian, I'm the one that's created the system, and I'm doing it day in, day out right here in Canada. So, are you ready to learn how to make big money with rent-to-own real estate investing? I definitely hope so. Okay, so what you're about to discover: cutting-edge strategies for creating 5 times, 8 times, even 10 times the average cash flow. How to get into rent-to-own real estate investing even with no money down and not having to use investors. Plus, how to virtually eliminate tenant and toilet headaches forever. And we're going to go over my 5 secret steps to financial freedom through rent-to-own real estate investing. All right, so I'm going to compare and contrast right now traditional buy and hold versus rent-to-own real estate investing. Now, for all you folks out there who are active real estate investors right now, don't get your nose out of joint. If you're currently a buy and hold real estate investor, there's definitely nothing wrong with buy and hold. It is It is by far the best way for creating long-term wealth, and it should be part of everyone's strategies. But I think that if you're looking for an additional way to get your cash flow up, be able to quit your job and get into real estate investing full-time, rent-to-own is definitely the way. So if you're currently an active investor, don't get your nose out of joint. I'm just going to compare and contrast, and then call me on anything if anything I say doesn't jive with what you already know. So traditional buy and hold versus rent-to-own. Traditional buy and hold, typically you're getting very low net cash flow at the end of the month from your rental properties, unless you're in some weird place like Fort McMurray that's just a complete anomaly for everything, or you do something creative like you put a basement suite into the home, you turn it from 1 door into 2 doors. If you do things like that, then you can increase the cash flow. But typically, you're looking at maybe $50 to $75 a month net positive cash flow after you've paid out all your expenses. Where am I getting these numbers? My good friend Ken Beaton, with over 120 doors under his belt, is definitely the gentleman that knows all about this. So we had a few little challenges here. My screen wasn't showing up, so now I am showing that. Hopefully you can all see that properly now. Thank you very much. Perfect. That's why the question and answer thing is so handy. Wagner, you need to be paying attention to the questions and answers, my friend. Wagner's my #1 go-to guy. He's helping me out. And this is kind of typical of these online presentations. We have a glitch from time to time. Let us know about it. Type that in the question thing, and we can jump on that right away. So thank you very much for that. So getting back to our topic here. Rent-to-own real estate investing, on the other hand, we can create $500, $800, even $1,000 a month or more net positive cash flow from one single family home. And I'm going to show you how in the presentation here. All right. Traditional buy and hold landlording, you're dealing with those dreaded 3 a.m. plugged toilet calls. You have to do the tenant and toilet pain in the butt situation. With rent-to-own real estate investing done the right way, the way I teach it, you virtually eliminate tenant and toilet headaches forever. Traditional buy and hold, it's a long-term play. Definitely, you're looking at 7 years, 10 years, 15 years or more that you're going to be holding on to that property. Like I say, that's great for long-term wealth creation, but it's kind of tough when you're looking to pay the bills at the end of the month. Rent-to-own, on the other hand, typically we're looking at 2 to 3 year deals max. So it's very quickly in and quickly out of the whole deal. Traditional buy and hold, no real clear exit strategy. I mean, you know that eventually you want to sell your property for a lot more than what you paid for it. You want to have mortgage pay down, all that kind of good stuff. But you really have to be timing the market. If you want to sell when the market's in the real doldrums, you're in trouble. On the other hand, rent-to-own real estate investing, we know how long it's going to take, and we know exactly what our exit strategy is. How much we're paying to get into it, how much we're going to pay, how much we're going to make when we get out of it. Traditional buy and hold, you need 20 to 35% down for down payments. With rent-to-own real estate investing, I'm going to show you a way to get in with low to no risk and even with no money down. So stay tuned for that. All right, here's an example of one of the first rent-to-own deals that I did here in beautiful Kamloops, BC. And this is just a regular single-family home. In this case, I got a $12,000 non-refundable option fee up front for my rent-to-own client. I'm getting outstanding monthly cash flow of over $1,100 a month. I'm going to get a nice little payday at the end of the day of another $2,300 as well. So it's very, very lucrative. If you can get these kind of numbers in Kamloops, you get much bigger numbers in bigger areas. All right, so I got a question for you. How many of you think that I might have something to offer for sale at the end of this presentation? Put up your hand if you think that I might have something to offer for sale at the end of the presentation. Lots of hands going up. A few hands not going up. What are you, kind of new to these things? Of course I'm going to have something to offer you at the end of the presentation. I don't want to disappoint you. My goal here is to give you some great information and get you so excited about rent-to-own that you can't wait to get going with my new rent-to-own home study system. We'll talk about that later on in the presentation. Okay, the opportunity, the time is now, in my opinion, to get involved in rent-to-own real estate investing. Why? Lots of reasons. First of all, technology has made this so much easier than ever before. Another reason, it's a ground floor opportunity. Sure, there are other folks out there doing rent-to-own real estate investing, but a lot of them are, to be quite frank with you, complete amateurs. They don't really know what they're doing. They didn't get training. They're not doing it properly. So there is some competition, but not very much good competition. Plus, the time is now, because if you don't start living your life on your own terms now, when will you? Plus, like I said, this is made by Canadians. Yours truly, Dave Dubeau. I am Canadian. I live here, born here, raised here, and it is for Canadians in the Canadian marketplace. All right, so in a moment, I'm going to show you and teach you how to get started making money fast with rent-to-own real estate investing. What I'm going to do here is show you a step-by-step system to get $500, $800, even $1,000 or more per month per property. But before I get into how I do my rent-to-own deals, I want to tell you a little bit about my story so that we can get connected, you can see who I am, and you can see why I'm here today. All right, basically, I am a redneck. I'm born and raised in a little town around Fort St. John, British Columbia. That's way up in northeastern BC, very close to the Alberta border. In fact, the little town I grew up in is called Taylor. Not much of a claim to fame. Most recently, its newest claim to fame is the setting for CBC Television's Village on a Diet TV show. That's right. So my hometown is famous for having a bunch of fat people who live in it. When I was growing up there were about 800 people that lived there. It has since ballooned up to over 1,400 people now, 1,400 people. Now, did you get that? That ballooned up thing? Yeah, sorry, the jokes don't get much better, so I have to apologize for that in the first place. Okay. After graduating from high school with a really kind of mediocre grades, I decided I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I was going to go to university. I couldn't get into UBC the first time around because my grades weren't good enough. Went to community college for my first year, got good enough grades for them to let me into UBC, where I went, and I ended up getting a BA, or what I like to call a basically asinine degree in psychology. As you can see, my lifestyle didn't change very much from high school. Had a lot of fun, just having a lovely time with friends and buddies at university. Didn't take my studies all that seriously. In fact, I graduated with, I think it was a 2.4 grade point average out of 4. Nothing to be very proud about. And for whatever reason, that was way back in 1990. We were going through an economic slump back then too. So there weren't a lot of people banging down my doors to give me great job offers. So I decided, what the heck, I'm going to travel around the world a bit and see a bit of the rest of the world. So I went down to Mexico and lived for a year in lovely Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Let's just see a show of hands. Who has ever been to Puerto Vallarta? Put up your hands if you've been to Puerto Vallarta. Okay, a few people there. I did the beach bum there thing, had a few different kinds of jobs. One of the funner jobs was I worked as an extra on a TV series down there. It was a joint Canadian-Israeli production filmed in Mexico for American TV, and it was called Sweating Bullets. And if you're not familiar with that show, it's because it only aired 6 episodes before it was yanked off the air, and that was about it for my claim to fame. After living in Mexico for a little over a year, I decided to go see a bit more of the world, and I started traveling through Guatemala and the rest of Central America. Hung out in Guatemala for a while, learned Spanish, and ended up in beautiful San Jose, Costa Rica, where I absolutely fell in love with the country, fell in love with the people, more specifically fell in love with one specific person. But before that, I decided I wanted to start a business. I thought, what the heck? Here I am. I think I was 23, 24 years old at that time. I had my basically asinine degree in psychology, no business experience. I was down to about $800 in my pocket. I was in a foreign country, in a foreign language with no contacts. How tough could it be to start my own company? So luckily I was too dumb to know any better, and I started an on-site language training company where we would send English teachers to usually transnational type companies and train their employees and their executives in English. So that's what I did. Met my lovely wife Susie. We got married. She made an honest man out of me and a legal man out of me as well, because up until then I was actually an illegal alien in Central America. It was almost kind of like poetic justice. I was a Canadian wetback in Costa Rica. We got married, had our 2 beautiful children. You can see in the photo at the bottom there, Amy, my daughter, who's now 13, going on 14, my son Andy, who's 10, just about 11, And my family is definitely my why. This is why I do what I do. So we decided, my wife and I decided, that Canada would be a better place for us to raise our children. Now, I love Costa Rica. It's a fantastic country, and compared to everywhere else in Latin America, it's very, very safe. However, there are still security issues there that we just really don't have to think about here in Canada. So both Susie and I decided we'd rather raise our kids here in Canada, so we decided to move back. So we did that in 2003, and basically I had to start all over again from scratch. I had no contacts, no job, no credit, and I had very, very little money to get started with because I still had most of my assets down in Costa Rica. But how tough could it be? I decided that I didn't want to continue on with the language training company, so I got into creative real estate investing. And that's when I jumped into that. I invested over $10,000 in different real estate courses and seminars, and I did my now famous 18 flips in 18 months, which was my claim to fame for a while. So you can see up there, that sounds impressive, 18 flips in 18 months. And the impressive ones were like the one on the top left-hand corner there. That was a beautiful home. Unfortunately, a lot more of them look like that trailer on the top right-hand side. But anyhow, I learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes as well. And some of the most profitable deals I did in that time were actually rent-to-own real estate investing deals. Then I met Canadian rich dad Darren Weeks. Worked exclusively with him for about 5 years as a marketing guy for his Fast Track group of companies. Learned a lot from Darren. It was really, really exciting working with him in Fast Track, watching them grow from 4 employees when I started to well over 125 employees now. One little dingy little office in St. Albert to now they're beautiful offices in St. Albert, and 8 or 9 satellite offices around Western Canada, and just becoming one of the Profit 100 fastest growing companies in Canada 3 years in a row. So it was a real thrill to work with Darren at Fast Track. Here's some nice things he had to say about me. When it comes to marketing, Dave definitely knows his stuff. As I've said at my events numerous times, I think Dave is the best marketer in Canada. The results he has gotten for my company prove it. So thank you very much for those kind words, Darren. But I never, even though I was working with Darren, I kind of got out of real estate, doing the flips for a while. I never lost my passion for real estate investing. So I started teaching it first with Darren Weeks, and later on with my good friend, Ken Beaton, with whom I wrote the book Creative Real Estate Investing for Canadians. And Ken's just a very, very sharp individual when it comes to real estate. Now, speaking of books, recently published our newest book, which is Rent2Own Profits for Canadians, which I wrote with my big brother, Dan Dubois. And Dan is a professional real estate investor. He's a professional rent-to-own real estate investor. And actually, he's got over 25 years of real estate investing experience, although now he's doing it much more actively than he ever did before. He's based in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I do rent-to-own here in BC. My brother does it in Halifax, and it works. We've got students across the country doing it in practically every province right now. I'm also a bit of an adrenaline junkie, love to do fun stuff. Here's a picture of a recent, well, last summer actually, skydiving escapade. My first solo jump. That big smile is actually a smile of relief because I made it down in one piece. Having some fun doing zip lines in the jungle, trying my hand at surfing. You can notice here the waves aren't very big in the background, none of that Hawaii 5-0 stuff. Little tropical kayaking with my lovely wife, Susie. And there we are, my kids, Amy and Andy, doing some skiing up north in Powder King. So one of the things I absolutely love about what I'm doing now is the opportunity to get to know other folks who are into real estate investing. Here's a group of us that went down to Mexico a couple of years ago, had a fantastic time doing that, get to meet some fantastic people. Here's a trip we took to Scottsdale, Arizona. We hooked up with the Rich Dad gang there, checked out the Grand Canyon. Lower left there's Ken Beaton and his wife Joanne Beaton, and just had a real blast. It's really fun to meet all of these cool people. Met Big George Foreman there, having a little bit of fun with him, and Robert Herjavec from Dragon's Den and the Shark Tank. Just a quick note here. George Foreman is absolutely huge. If you look at that picture, now I'm not a really tall guy, but I'm not a complete munchkin either. George is actually sitting on a stool. And kind of leaning over there, and he's still taller than I am. Robert Herjavec, on the other hand, is my kind of guy, a lot shorter, that's for sure. So definitely not as intimidating either. And one of the things I like most about all of this is the teaching and training people and seeing how people take my information, really roll with it to create their own ideal lifestyle through real estate investing. Okay, there we go, some pictures of some training folks that we were working with. And so now let's jump right into it. Talk about, first of all, some of the challenges that a lot of investors are facing right now. So what I'm seeing today is people are kind of afraid to get involved with real estate investing. They don't have much time. They may not have much money, or they don't know how to attract investors to work with them. They don't know how to get started, where to turn when they get stuck. Other people have low self-esteem and think this kind of thing only works for other people, but it's not going to work for them. And other folks think, well, maybe I live in a big city, it won't work here, it's already too much demand, it's too expensive. Or they think I live in a small town, there's not enough people here, or there's too much competition, or just plain down, I don't know how to get started and I'm scared about that. So there is a solution, and the solution is my program, Rent2Own Cash on Demand System for Canadians. So you don't have to worry about that. I figured it out, and my system is the solution. And we'll talk about that later on after the training. So did you know, got a question here for you, did you know that right now over 30% of all Canadians who can afford a mortgage don't qualify for one with the very strict bank and CMHC requirements that are out right now? Did you know that? 30% of Canadians who can afford to pay their monthly mortgage payment don't qualify for a mortgage right now. So that is a huge target group that we can go after as rent-owned real estate investors. These are folks that want to get into a home but aren't allowed to because of the picky big banks and the fact that the government is making it more difficult for especially new first-time homeowners to get into their first home. So let's jump into the 5 steps to massive profits in Canadian rent-owned real estate investing. If you're going to be taking notes, this is the time to start taking the notes. What I'm about to teach you are the 5 steps to get up and running and profitable in rent-owned investing in any Canadian market. All right, so get ready to write these down. And we're going to go over them more in depth, so don't worry about it if you don't get them all from the first slide. So step number 1, we're going to be talking about attracting clients. This is the way I do rent-owned real estate investing is I treat it like a business. It is a business. So any business needs clients to get up and running, to keep going, to be profitable. So this is no different with that. We need clients. These are rent-owned tenant buyers are the clients that we work with. Step number 2 is once we sit out there and we start doing lead generation, we're going to get a lot of people who are very interested in our program. But just because a lot of people are interested doesn't mean a lot of them fit our criteria for the kind of folks that we want to work with. So we need to learn how to quickly pre-screen, sort, and filter these folks so that we can work with the diamonds in the rough. We also have to talk about getting money up front because, like I say, if they don't have any skin in the game, there is no game. Step number 3 is talking about the property, getting the property under contract and purchased. Step number 4 is working with our clients during the deal, helping them to get qualified, and in the meantime, enjoying the phenomenal cash flow from this form of real estate investing. Finally, step number 5 is finalizing the deal and cashing out at the end of the deal. Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple of my strategies. The rest you're going to learn and discover with my Rent2Own Cash on Demand system. So just a quick question. If I can do multiple deals here in a small town like Kamloops, we've got about 85,000 folks here in Kamloops, do you think you could do at least one deal wherever it is that you live? I'm sure you can. So let's jump in here and talk about step number 1, which is attracting clients. So attracting clients, another word for that is marketing or advertising. So if we're treating Rent2Own like a business, we have to be professional. We have to do things to get the word out, the fact that we are actually up and running and doing this kind of business. So I think the cornerstone, the most important thing you can have nowadays is a powerful lead generation website. Because nowadays, if a business owner doesn't have a website, you just don't look very serious. You don't look very professional. Plus, with the system that I have, the website actually does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to the actual nuts and bolts of the business. So it's a cornerstone. Do you absolutely have to have a website? Of course not. You can do this without one. but I don't know why you would want to. So first thing is make sure you've got a powerful lead generation website. Having a website's not enough. You need to push traffic to that website. You have to get eyeballs seeing your site and using your online application form in order to get going with that. So what I usually suggest for that is low cost or no cost online advertising. So pretty much here in Canada, the #1 source of online advertising for us as rent-owned real estate investors is Kijiji. It's pretty much in any major market, most of the smaller markets as well. Another good one is Craigslist, but by and far, Kijiji is the biggest bang for your buck to get up and running with right away. You can also do old school type advertising as well. So old-fashioned classified ads in newspapers still can work very, very well. Why? It's because there's so much less competition for eyeballs in newspapers now than there used to be. So I don't know if you've looked in the classified section of a paper lately, but if you compare the size of the classified section now to what it used to be like 5 or 7 or 10 years ago, it has shrunk by probably 75%. However, that can be good news for us as investors. We can get our ads in there, and we've got far fewer competitors in there competing for those eyeballs. So it can still be very, very effective. Now, I want to share one of the simplest, easiest, and least expensive marketing strategies that's available to all of us. This is something that hardly anybody does, but I think it's very, very important, and it just gets you a fantastic bang for your buck, and that's turning your vehicle into a rolling billboard. That's right, you turn your vehicle into a rolling billboard with vehicle signage. So I'll give you an example of some vehicle signage. The top pictures show my I Buy Houses minivan from several years ago. Those were permanent signs that I had on that minivan, and I know that I got my most profitable flip deal from one of those signs, as well as a couple of smaller deals as well. The bottom picture in the middle there is my newest vehicle, a bright yellow FJ Cruiser. Nothing subtle about that. And you can see my Rent2Own signage on that. Renting sucks, Rent2Own, and my website, bcrenttobuy.com, and our 1-800 number as well. Definitely stands out. And I can track at least one of my deals, actually looking like 2 of my deals, to that signage. So let's see. I spent about $100 or so on those magnetic signs, and that deal is going to net me about $38,000 over 2 years. So $100 in, $38,000 out. How would you like to get that kind of return on your investment? All right, and I'm going to give you a hint about vehicle signage. The best kind of signage you can get is actually the permanent decals or even a wrap on the outside of your vehicle. However, a lot of people are very nervous about that for several reasons. The biggest reason probably, and the one that people don't say but is really the biggest reason, is they're worried about what other folks are going to think about them. And I say don't worry about that. Be more worried about what your bank balance looks like. However, this does solve that problem, because the other big problem is what your loved ones and your family thinks about this. So they might not always be thrilled about riding around in the renting sucks mobile, especially if you're going out to kind of a nice dinner or something like that. So the advantage of the magnetic signs are you can put them on, you can take them off. If you're taking your spouse out for dinner, you can take those signs off. As soon as you drop them off at home, put your signs back on and off you go. So magnetic signs are kind of a nice intermediate way to go there. All right, so now you know that I've got a system I'm going to be offering you at the end of the presentation. Not going to let you down about that. The opportunity is a step-by-step system that's going to teach you how to get into profitable rent-owned investing and become potentially financially free. So here's some comments from one of our students. Thank you, Dave, for everything. This course exceeded my expectations. Along with your rent-owned expertise, you brought in some very interesting weekly guests that just augmented the course content extremely well. You got me to take action each week, which I'm thankful for. I'm miles ahead with my own rent-owned company in Ottawa than I was before the course. Thanks again. And that's from our friend Chris Baudry in Ottawa, Ontario. Okay, so if you're taking notes, step number 2 is super, super vital. So step number 1 is getting the word out through marketing and advertising. And when you do it the way I teach you, you're going to be getting literally a flood of interest in your program. So you have to figure out how to automate things and how to quickly, efficiently, and effectively sort and pre-screen your clients. So, like I say, over 30% of Canadians who can afford a mortgage don't qualify for one right now. That's a huge market. So you have to quickly sift and sort. You have to figure out what kind of folks do you want to work with and can you work with in this program. So you need to be looking at several different things. Income levels. So here in Kamloops, we're kind of a steady Eddie kind of a community. Property prices compared to other places in BC are very, very reasonable. So our minimum criteria right now is a gross family income of $40,000 a year or more. So that's kind of our bottom line. If they aren't making $40,000 a year or more, we just really can't work with them. We can't help them. So that's an easy way to filter folks out. If you're in a place like Toronto or Vancouver, higher property prices, etc., maybe you're looking at a higher gross family income. No, most definitely you'd be looking at a higher gross family income. Next thing we want to see is their credit, what I call credit fixability. So it's okay if they got credit glitches, if they got credit challenges, as long as they can be fixed up within a reasonable amount of time. So what is that a reasonable amount of time? In our case, 2 to maximum 3 years. That's the longest that we want to do a rent-to-own deal. And we want to look at where's their credit score right now, where does it have to be in order for them to qualify for a mortgage after 2 or 3 years, and what do we have to do to get them there in that time frame. So that's what we're looking at with credit fixability. Next thing is we need to get the inside scoop on the story behind them. Why can they not qualify and buy their own home now? So it's not enough just to know what their credit score is. It's to find out why did they get that credit score, why do they have that credit score in the first place. So note there is if they've made really stupid mistakes with your money recently, chances are you don't want to be doing business with them. If it's some glitches from several years back and they fix things up and they're working on things, then yeah, that would be something somebody I'd definitely take a stronger look at. Next thing, and very, very important, this is a big mistake I've made in the past, I see other folks making as well, and that is not making sure that your prospective client, your rent-to-own tenant buyer, has enough cash on hand. They have to have skin in the game. They have to have cash on hand. People say, Dave, how much cash should they have? Depends on the kind of deal that you're going to be doing, but typically when we're doing our client first rent-to-own method, which we're talking about right here with these 5 steps, I'm looking for 4% of the initial purchase price of the property in cash. Now you might say, well, Dave, people only need 5% down to buy their own home. That's true if they can qualify for a mortgage. If they can't qualify for a mortgage, they need 20% down. So getting 4% for folks that don't qualify for a mortgage right now is very, very possible. It's one of our criteria. Plus, that way we know they've got skin in the game. They're going to be serious about that. Next thing is realistic expectations. Realistic expectations. So if somebody has a $40,000 gross family income and they're looking for a $500,000 house, they're completely out to lunch. There's no way we can help them. And unless they get real fast, there's just nothing we can do with these folks. So they have to have realistic expectations. What kind of a home can they realistically afford? Now, a couple of little bonus tip here. I'm going to give you 2 of my 5 favorite categories of rent-to-own clients to work with. And my number 1 favorite category are new immigrants to the country. These are people that I absolutely love to work with. Why? Because if you've looked at what's required to get into this country legally, going through all the hoops that Immigration Canada makes people go through, plus all of the requirements that they have, these folks are definitely very, very motivated to get here. Also, typically they have a chunk of change. They've got some cash that they come over to the country with, and all they need is a little bit of time to establish some credit. So these are folks that I really like to work with. They tend to be very, very hardworking. These are people that have had to jump through all sorts of different challenges just to be here. They're keen to live the Canadian dream. They want their own home. They'd like to get it sooner rather than later. They're ideal folks to work with. In fact, I've got a couple of rent-own students of mine who are completely focusing. They are actually immigrants themselves. They're focusing exclusively on working with new immigrants from their home countries here in Canada and doing very, very well with that. The second category I really like to work with are folks who are self-employed. Why self-employed, folks? Because typically these are people that are obviously in charge of their own financial future. They typically thought they were being smart by minimizing the income that they show to the tax man to keep their taxes low So that's one of the advantages of being self-employed. You've got all sorts of tax write-offs that you can do. If you've got a good accountant, they can minimize your income very, very nicely. However, it kind of turns around and bites them in the butt when they want to buy a nice home. Because now, especially nowadays, the banks are not very amenable to this whole stated income thing like they used to be before the recession. They want to see 2 years of tax returns proving that you've got the income to qualify for a home. So self-employed people are great. We can typically get their credit where it needs to be very, very quickly. They just need a little bit of time to get those 2 years of tax returns, and financially they're in control of their own destinies. I always look for folks that have been in business for themselves for at least 2 years. That's my preference, preferably even 5, and that way we know that they've got a good chance of continuing to be very, very successful with their business. Okay, so that is pre-screening our clients and 2 of my favorite kinds of folks to work with. Here's another comment from one of our students, from Gary Levesque from Victoria, BC. If there's any program worthwhile taking in order to help you jump into action, this has to be it. Dave's ability to teach, explain, and stir us up to get us going is the one thing that kept me on the live training every single week. By following his well-defined steps, I've been able to realize my dream of having a solid real estate investment business and still help folks get into homes they may never have been able to acquire without this system. Again, that's Gary from Victoria. All right, taking notes. Let me grab a quick drink here. I'm getting a little bit dry. All right, step number 3. So quick review. Step number 1 was getting the marketing out there. Step number 2 is sifting, sorting, and filtering through prospective rent-to-own clients and finding a really good one, the diamond in the rough there. Step number 3 is once we've got our client, then we're going to look at the property. So we do things a little bit differently. We start with the client and then get them into a property instead of starting with a property and getting a client for that property. So getting the property, what we do here is we send out our clients with our friendly local realtors. We've got 2 that we work with. They understand what we're doing. They understand the program. They understand what kind of properties we're looking for. They understand how the whole thing works. So I suggest that you get a realtor on your team very, very quickly, and one who understands the whole process. Then we have them pick out 2 or 3 different homes that fit their criteria, that fit their budget, and that fit and hopefully fit our criteria as well. So why 2 or 3? Because we're going to take a look and find the property. If there's a problem with property number 1, we want to be able to go on to property number 2 very, very quickly. And then obviously we're going to go out and check the property. If it looks good, we'll put an offer in on it, get into the negotiations, and either buy it or get it under contract. So I want to explain something very, very important. You're taking notes, make sure that you're taking notes on this. What kind of properties do you want to get? You want to get single-family homes in urban areas. So ideally, we're talking about a detached single-family house on its own lot, a little bit of space between it and its neighbors. That's kind of our ideal picture. The house, the white picket fence, that's kind of our ideal property to work with. That said, we're also happy to look at working with townhouses or duplexes, half duplexes, that sort of thing. That would be next thing on our list. And then we can also be looking at condominiums as well. And that's kind of the order of priority, depending on where you are, what the property prices are, what the typical entry-level homes are in your area. You might not be able to use single detached homes. But here's something to write her downer, what kind of properties you absolutely want to avoid like the plague. I'm going to give you 2 of them. First type that you want to avoid are rural properties. So acreages, hobby farms, properties out in the country. Now they may be absolutely lovely, they may be just great. The reason I suggest you avoid them is unless you really understand that market, you don't want to get into those kind of properties. There are all sorts of hassles that can come up with that. So if they're not on city water and they've got their own well, that's just a recipe for disaster right there if anything goes wrong with their well. If they're not on city sewage and they've got septic tanks and septic fields and that sort of thing, that's another recipe for disaster. In fact, my big brother Dan made the mistake of working with one of these kind of properties, ended up with, I believe it was a $30,000 bill for a septic system not working out. His tenant buyer decided to walk out on the deal instead of completing it. He got left with the property and the bill. So that's what you definitely want to avoid. I call rural properties, nice as they might be, they're kind of orphan properties. And in the back of my mind, when I'm doing a rent-to-own deal, I always want to look at what's the worst case scenario. What happens if this deal doesn't work out? How easily can I either get another rent-to-own tenant into this property? How easily can I sell this property, get my cash out, my investor's cash out? Or how easily can I rent this property? And with rural properties, it's a lot more challenging because there's a much smaller market for those kind of homes. So avoid them at all costs. And if you don't, do so at your own risk. Okay, so that's the first kind of property to avoid at all costs. Next kind of property are mobile homes in mobile home parks. Mobile homes and mobile home parks. Now, although these tend to be quite affordable type properties and you can get, people in lower incomes into them, I suggest you completely avoid these. Why? Because at the end of the day, you don't own the dirt under the property. You're basically renting somebody else's dirt. You've got your tin shack on top of somebody else's dirt. Now, I know that sounds kind of harsh. I am being a little harsh, but that's just to press home the point. I've done deals with rent. I've done deals with mobile homes and mobile home parks. There's a lot of room for mistakes there. There's a lot of challenges that can come up. You have to be dealing with the park management. You're basically renting the lot. You don't own it. If you get in a peeing match with the lot or the park owner or the management, they can literally kick you and your mobile out of their park, which brings the value of it down to nothing, especially if it is an older mobile home. So avoid mobile homes and mobile home parks at all costs. The other kind of property to avoid are mobile homes not in mobile home parks. This is something I learned the hard way at the beginning of the year. Right now, with everything tightening up and the lenders getting their, so tight with their money right now for mortgages, for whatever reason, lenders don't want to loan money for mobiles as investment properties. So we really can't buy them, even if we wanted to, for our tenant buyers. So just, in my opinion, avoid mobiles in general. Okay? So that is step number 3, getting the property. What kind of properties to look for, what kind of properties to avoid like the plague. Okay, speaking of my big brother Dan, here's his lovely picture. He's based in Halifax. He was a certified financial planner for 23 years. He started doing rent-own deals in 2007. So when I was doing my 18 flips in 18 months through 03 up to 05, Dan was always asking me, well, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Why are you doing that? How did it work out? What's the profit? That sort of thing. And he got really intrigued with the whole rent-to-own concept. So he jumped in, started doing that in 2007. Then he got into it full-time after the last recession hit. He got it in 2009. So again, he was a certified financial planner for a long time. He'd been through the ups and downs of the market 3 times. He'd do his best for his clients. He'd do everything he could to create a good portfolio for them, and then wham, the market would tank, their investments would tank, and who got blamed? My big brother Dan. So he got sick and tired of that after that, and he took that leap, which was a huge leap for him after 23 years in the industry, to become a full-time rent-own investor in 2009. Definitely has paid off big time for him. He's got over 20 rent-own property deals under his belt, and I'm thrilled to say Dan's going to be coming to my live rent-own Profit Summit this August in Kamloops. So for those of you who are coming to that, you get to meet Dan and learn from him live and in person. The fact when it comes to rent-own deals, Dave, I believe you have no peers. This is an excellent addition to those that already have the book. You talk the talk and most definitely walk the walk. That's from Ralph Stanfield. Thanks for that, Ralph. Step number 4, if we're taking notes, and I hope you are, is so we've marketed for our rent-own clients. We have pre-screened and pre-qualified them. They fit our criteria. We've sent them out to go look at properties. We've got that property under contract. We've either purchased that property ourselves or worked with an investor to purchase that property. Now we've got the client in there, in the property himself, doing the rent-own deal. So this is talking about during the deal. So here's the biggest thing that I see rent-own real estate investors, the biggest mistake I see them making is getting somebody into a deal and then thinking, great, it's all done, and just cashing the checks for a couple of years and showing up at the end of 2 or 3 years to close the deal, not having done anything with their clients in the meantime. Huge, huge mistake. It's not enough to get them into the deal. You have to work with them to get them qualified for a mortgage so they can buy the property from you at the end of the term. So before you get them into the property, you have to work with them to create a plan. Now, you don't have to do this. You can actually work with credit repair specialists who can do this for you. You definitely want to be part of it. You want to know what's going on. You want to have regular meetings with folks. So people always say, Dave, how often do you want to meet with people? I say every 3 months. Why every 3 months? Because that way you can really keep on top of them. It's quarterly. You can see if they're doing what they need to do to repair their credit. Plus, you want to go in and actually view the property. Why do you want to do that? Well, I live here in beautiful BC. BC is famous for a lot of things. One of the things we're famous for are grow ops, marijuana grow ops. So I want to make sure that I go in there and check out the basement and make sure they don't have a grow op in my property. Make sense? Now that sounds kind of harsh, but I actually explain this up front to people when they're coming in for their initial meeting. So when I'm telling people about how the whole program works, I explain to them that part of the benefits of working with me is that I'm going to be helping them. I'm going to be holding their hand along the way to help them get qualified for a mortgage, to fix up their credit, do whatever they do. I'm going to meet with them at the home every 3 months to help them do that, and also to make sure you don't have a grow op in my house. I actually say that point blank. Usually gets to chuckle. If it doesn't, be concerned. I've actually had a couple of people get up and leave at that point of the conversation. So was that a good move or what? Yes, it was. That saved me a whole lot of pain. Okay. Now, one of the things I love best about Rent2Own is you don't have to worry about the typical property maintenance things of being a normal landlord. Why is that? That's because your client is committing to maintain the property. After all, you've gone out, you've let them pick a home that they want to live in. You or with your investor have gone out and purchased the property for them. If something goes wrong with that property that's not covered by insurance, it's your client's responsibility to fix it. So you're not going to be getting any of those 3 a.m. plugged toilet calls. They're going to be taking great care of the lawn and the yards. Why? Because it's going to be their property. They look at it as their own home already. They are what we like to call homeowners in training, which is a completely different kettle of fish compared to a normal tenant. These are homeowners in training. They see this as their own home. So put up your hand if you like the idea of not having to deal with property maintenance and tenant management issues. Put up your hand if you like that idea. No tenant and toilet challenges. Got some hands going up there. That's for sure. Just put up your hand. Yep. Okay. Lots of great. Okay. So, in the meanwhile, you're enjoying amazing monthly cash flows. So again, we're looking at $500, $800, $1,000 a month or more net positive cash flow per deal. All right. So let's take another look at a Rent2Own student success story. This is Matt and Les Crowley, a great father-son team based in St. Albert, Alberta. So Matt's a full-time brainiac student. So he's a serious student. Unlike myself, he actually takes his university studies very, very seriously. And his dad, Les, is a full-time, I believe, is an engineer, has his own, he's self-employed, has his own firm. Neither one of them has a lot of time to dedicate it to this. So they're doing these Rent2Own deals part-time. When they have time, they've got things set up so things are largely automated for them, and they're well on their way to creating a full-time income from that so he could scrap his old summer job where he was a landscaper. So their first deal was in Edmonton. They got $10,000 up front from their client, the Rent2Own client. They're actually seeing $1,276 a month net positive cash flow and just about a $13,000 payday at the end of the deal. So their deal is actually more profitable than mine for over $40,000 net profit on this particular deal. Why is that? Because the property prices where they're at are higher than the property prices where I'm at here in Kamloops. And the higher the price of the property, it just goes to show you that the greater the profits are as well. Here's another comment here. Dave more than over-delivered on his promise to ensure that we are successful. This course is easily worth $5,000. I've paid much more for other courses and received 10 times less than what Dave has given. If you're thinking about taking the course, just stop and do it. I'm so glad that I did, and I don't regret a penny. And that's our friend Jeffrey Free from Edmonton, Alberta. Thanks for that, Jeffrey. Okay, step number 5. What a lot of people love about this is cashing the check. So I just want to quickly go over how the money works. So again, we're getting cash up front. Like I promised you in the beginning, we'll be talking about how do you get cash up front, monthly cash flow, and cashing out at the end. So the upfront money, typically we're looking at 4% of the initial purchase price of the property. So if you're looking at a $200,000 property, that'd be $8,000. Looking at a $300,000 property, $12,000, etc. That's upfront, non-refundable option fee. Now, very important, that money does apply towards the down payment on the property when they purchase it from you, but it's non-refundable if they flake out on the deal for any reason. So that is a non-refundable upfront option fee, and get it set up properly with your accountant. You have access and use of that money from day one. You're going to show that you received it. You're going to show everything on paper that you got the money from these folks and that it applies towards their down payment. After that, you're free to do what you want with it. Then we've got our outstanding monthly cash flow. A lot of people say, well, Dave, how do you get that much cash flow from these properties? Good question. The reason is, a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the way I structure the lease with our client, our tenant buyer, our rent-to-own client. We are charging above market rent for our properties, typically about 20% above what market rent would be for the same property. So if market rent is, let's say, $1,400 for a similar property, we would be charging probably around the range of $1,700 or $1,800 a month for that same property. Why are we doing that? Well, because, again, we're going to be helping our client pay in their down payment over time. So we're going to give them credit for part of the rent that they're paying in the form of rental credits. So depending on how much rent they're paying, it could be $200 or $300 or $400 a month of the rent they're paying is getting credited towards their down payment to purchase their property at the end of the deal. And in the meantime, we have full use of that extra cash flow. So that is cash flow going directly into our pockets. How else are we maximizing things? Well, again, we don't have to worry about property maintenance and upkeep on this property. Whose responsibility is that? We pass that on to the tenant, so we don't have to worry about that. That usually gets us on average another at least $100 a month. If the fridge goes out, if something happens, if the toilet gets plugged, we don't have to fix that. The client does. So there's some extra cash flow right there. Next thing is the way we structure things with our investors. The way I teach folks is to pay our investors a lump sum payment at the end of the deal. So we're enjoying that cash flow as well on the money borrowed. The difference between what we have to pay and what we're getting in typically is anywhere between $500, $800, $1,000 a month or more. Again, that's a big picture. I get into the exact nitty-gritty details of how all the numbers work in the home study program. But just to give you the big picture, that's how it works. Then we've got a cash out at the end. How does that work? Well, obviously, if we're buying it for price A today, we're going to be selling the property to our client at a higher price at the end of the deal. So 2 or 3 years down the road, depending on where you're at, you could be looking at 3.5%, 4%, 5% appreciation per year, sometimes more in other areas. Although I suggest you be realistic about this. You can't be out to lunch and greedy about what your appreciation rate is. Take a look at your local area, or if that's kind of low, then you go with the national appreciation rate. So we're getting that. We're getting the appreciation, plus we're getting mortgage pay down. So by the time we give our client their rental credits and their option fee, we credit all that out at the end. We give our investor, ourselves, our money, our initial down payment back, plus the rate of interest that we've offered. Cashing out at the end, there will be a little bit left over, a nice little pop that's your part of your payment as well. So you get the cash out, usually $2,000 to $10,000 at the end of the deal as well. All right, another success story. This is Gina and Alan Minshew from Spring Coulee, Alberta. If you're not familiar with that place, it's a little town near Lethbridge. So they took the rent-to-own training with me. They've already got one deal under their belt for a total of, looking at a total of over $40,000 in profit. Thanks, Dave. As usual, a great source of information and an inspiration. Can't wait to put it into action. And congratulations, you guys. You actually have put it into action. You're doing very, very well. Rick Wheeler, St. Albert, Alberta. Very interesting guy. Very sharp real estate investor. He's already a successful investor with 8 properties in his portfolio. But he had 2 of these properties that were underperforming. He was looking at getting rid of them, but it was kind of a down market that he was in. So he was having a hard time selling the properties. So he took the program, he applied what he learned about rent-to-own to his own properties. So again, you don't have to, if you've already got a portfolio and you've got some properties you want to sell, rent-to-own could be just the ticket for him. On one of the properties, he got a $14,000 non-refundable option fee. And on the other, he actually got a $40,000 option fee on the other property. So he didn't actually pay real close attention to the whole 4% down. He got way better than that. And that's definitely fantastic for him. Plus, he's going to sell his properties for full price. He doesn't have to worry about a real estate commission because he's doing it on his own. He's going to enjoy above average rents and have zero tenant hassles in the meanwhile. Is that cool or what? Most definitely. So Rick had this to say, I'm on my third deal now and loving every second of it. My goal for 2012 was to generate 4 rent-to-own deals, but with 3 done and it only being March, I might need to reassess my goals. I guess you might, Rick. Actually, I just heard from Rick. He's got his 4th deal under his belt, not even halfway through the year. All right, so I'm going to share with you some of the profit potential and some of my actual deals from my portfolio here in and around Kamloops. So here's a townhouse deal. And in this particular case, I got $15,000 up front, non-refundable option fee. I'm seeing $767 a month net monthly cash flow. I'll see another $6,000 payday at the end of the 2 years. Total profit, just over $39,000 on this little townhome deal. Here's an example of one of my first rent-own deals. This is actually a sandwich lease. I'm going to briefly explain how the sandwich lease works here. In this case, I found a motivated home seller. Actually, he found me because one of the things I teach is how to do marketing to get motivated people to contact you. It works so much better if they contact you versus the other way around. So in this case, I had a very frustrated landlord who gave me a call. He explained the situation. He had read a book a few years ago that said real estate was a good thing. He stopped reading the book at that point and just ran out and bought himself an investment property. Things seemed to go along well for a little while. His first few tenants were pretty good. And then he just came into a rash of bad luck, and he had tenants from hell over and over again. So his first tenant from hell turned out to be a drug dealer, turned the place into a drug house. So there were druggies hanging around all hours of the day and the night. This guy's neighbors absolutely hated him for that because it was just so unpleasant. This is a nice neighborhood, and this turned the house into a drug house. Finally got rid of that tenant, cost him a lot of money to get the guy out, evict him, all that kind of stuff. He rented the property out, and the next tenant he got actually turned out to be a biker. So it kind of became a biker hangout, so loud parties and rowdy, obnoxious people around all the time. So again, his neighbors were not very, very happy with him. And by the time he got the guy evicted, he'd done thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage to the property. It was just a real hassle. So he started to get pretty frustrated with the whole landlording thing after that. And his last tenant that he had in there, he thought he had it made. He put an ad out for tenants. A nice, professional-looking single mom came, answered. She had great references. She had a good job, good income, the whole bit. Just looked fantastic. So he rented it to her, but she neglected to tell him about her drug-dealing biker boyfriend who promptly moved in with her, turned the place into a drug house and a biker hangout. Again, I know it sounds like a joke, but it's true, the poor guy. And another nightmare trying to get rid of these people, repairing the damage, etc., the eviction process, the whole bit. He was fed up. He called me. So I created a sandwich lease here. So that means that I leased his property for a monthly price that satisfied him. In other words, it covered his base costs, so his mortgage payments, his property insurance, property taxes, all that kind of stuff. I basically covered his hard cost expenses. He wasn't making any money off of me, but he wasn't losing any money either. And then, so I leased it, and then I had an option to purchase the property. So we agreed upon a price that would work for him to sell it to me within the next 2 years, and everything being very, very transparent. I explained to him exactly what I was going to do. I said, okay, I'm going to find a client for this, a tenant buyer. I'm going to turn around, sublet it to them with an agreement to purchase. They're going to pay me more every month than what I'm paying you. That's going to be part of my profit margin. I've agreed to pay you price A. They're going to pay me a higher price than that. That's part of my profit. You can understand I need to make a profit, right? You can understand that. And at the end of the deal, we're going to help them get qualified for a mortgage, buy the property, and it'll be off your hands. And that's exactly what we did. So I ended up getting $7,000 upfront non-refundable option fee from these folks. I was seeing $650 a month net positive cash flow on the deal, and for a total profit of just over $30,000. And that was actually in 18 months, not even 2 full years. So great, great deal. And here's the beautiful thing. Because of the way I structured it, I didn't have to come up with any money down, right? I shouldn't say that. I had to come up with $10 to make the agreement legal, but that was about it. I didn't have to come up with any investors. Basically, the property owner was my investor. He already had the mortgage. It was already in his name. Didn't have to come up with any investors. And minimal risk. And the way I teach it, it's definitely minimal risk. So that, in a nutshell, is what some people consider to be the tastiest form of rent-to-own real estate investing, sandwich leases. And I teach that full and in-depth in the home study program. In fact, one of my guest experts on the program was Paul Hetch, who's the author of Everyday Real Estate Millionaires, because when I was teaching this module in my rent-to-own cash on demand system for Canadians, I wanted to get somebody who actually had a lot more experience with sandwich leases than I did. I knew Paul had done well over a dozen sandwich lease deals in his career, so I got him on the call. He's a very well-known Canadian real estate investor and trainer, and I was able to I learned a lot. I took lots of notes from him showing us what he was doing, but I was also able to show him a very simple little addition to my contract, which virtually eliminates all of your risk from doing sandwich leases. And I was thrilled when Paul said that just that one little idea was worth more than the entire price of the program. So how'd you like to get those kinds of no money, no investors, super low risk rent-to-own deals? Put up your hand or write me a quick note if you'd like to see that. All right, that's definitely part of the program. All right, so some other examples. I showed you this one at the beginning, $12,000 up front, a little over $1,100 a month net positive cash flow, total profit a little over $41,000 for this rent-to-own deal. In fact, this one's coming up. We're going to be cashing this guy out in the next few months. Another example deal, another little townhouse deal. In this case, I got $8,000 up front. Not that much because it's a lower price property. $603 a month net positive cash flow. Total profit just over $33,000 in 2 years. And here's another example, a home in Merritt. Got $11,500 up front, $1,062 net cash flow. I'll get another $2,300 at the end of the 2 years for total profit just under $40,000 for this property. Now, if I'm doing these kind of deals in and around Kamloops, imagine what you can do where you're at. It doesn't matter if you're in a big city, small town, anywhere that there are people who do not qualify for mortgages right now and who want a home, this program works for them. Okay, so here's an example deal, a sandwich lease with a mobile home in a mobile home park here in Kamloops. Ooh, I can hear you saying, hey, Dave, didn't you just say the two kinds of properties you absolutely want to avoid at all costs are rural properties and especially mobile homes and mobile home parks? What are you doing? What are you talking about? What's this whole mobile home and a mobile home park rent-to-own deal, Dave? Okay, very good. Very important. Good. I'm glad that you're paying attention if you are. This is a different kind of rent-to-own deal. This is a sandwich lease. So again, remember, if I don't have to come up with any money up front, if I don't have to work with any investors, if I don't have to risk any investors' money in the deal, and if I'm minimizing my risk, why not do it? So this is where you are absolutely permitted to do rent-to-own deals, is when you're doing sandwich leases. You can do where you can do mobile home deals is when you're doing sandwich leases. You've got nothing to lose. There's no banks involved with this right now, so it can work very, very well. So this little deal, I like to include this not because it's a big money maker, but because it's something that anybody can do. Anybody can get their brain around doing this kind of a little deal. So if I could just even get you to take action, do a small deal like this, you'll feel so much more comfortable to be doing the bigger deals as well. So this little modular home, I got $3,000 up front, non-refundable option fee. I'm seeing $325 a month net positive cash flow. So who's excited about $325 a month net cash flow? You should be excited about that. Remember what I told you the typical cash flow is from traditional buy and hold properties. You're lucky if you're getting $50 to $75 a month. So this cash flow is the equivalent of having 4 or 5 traditional doors, just with this one little mobile home. I'm going to see a total profit of just under $13,000 in 2 years. And again, all with no money, no investors, and absolutely minimal risk. So a lot of people say, well, Dave, if it's so great, why don't you just focus 100% on sandwich lease deals? Well, sandwich leases are fun, but you actually have more work involved. You know, you got a good payoff, not quite as good a profit margin, and a lot more work because you not only have to find a good tenant buyer, you have to find a very motivated seller as well. So they can be done. It's a great way to get started. It's the way I got started, and we'll show you exactly how to do that. Here's another example deal. I got $14,000 up front, non-refundable option fee. Why? Because this is a more expensive home. $897 a month net cash flow, total profit just over $52,000. Really good profit margin on this because this is actually a 3-year deal. So the higher price of the property and the longer the deal, the higher the profit margin. So that's kind of an overview of some of the properties in my portfolio. How about you? Are you ready for this? The Rent2Own Cash on Demand system has everything you need to get on your path with super profitable rent-to-own real estate investing. So I want to help you get to your goals and whatever your why is, whatever that might be. Maybe it's spending more time with your family. Could be having more money, buying the nicer things in life. Could be that freedom of being able to quit your job, or even if you like your job, not being reliant on that income, having your own income, good income, to do whatever you like with it. It could be helping out your favorite cause. Whatever your why is, my goal is to help you achieve it through rent-to-own real estate investing. So how would you like to get access to the exact systems I use to generate this kind of cash flow, these kind of profits? Now, before I give you this opportunity, let me show you the features and the benefits of the Rent2Own Cash on Demand system for Canadians. So, big benefits are more time and more money. Why reinvent the wheel? I've gone out, I've figured this through trial and error. Dan and I have figured out how to get the Rent2Own system working, up and running profitably and properly. It saves you so much time and money by trying not having to figure it out yourself. It's a quick and easy process if you follow proven methods. This can create financial freedom for yourself and your family, and by doing it right, you've got a huge competitive advantage over folks who don't know how to do it properly. So there's no such thing as competition, if you ask me. So the first part of this program is instant and immediate access to the online Rent2Own University. So back last fall, I did an 8-part webinar series, training series, where I took my students through a lesson every week. And we created this whole program based on that. So you get access online to all 8 of those modules, plus the materials I'm going to be talking to you are available in digital format online. You can log in, you can watch the videos online, you can download them to your computer, listen to the audios, put them on your MP3 player, whatever you want to do, it's all there, and you'll have immediate access to this right away when you invest in the program. Next thing is we created an actual home study program out of the whole thing. So we created the DVDs, the handouts, all of the materials in the program. We put them in binders on DVDs and NCDs. You're going to get all of that included as well. Real world value, very real value of $699. All right. Had a computer program put this all together, the Rent2Own Profits deal calculator and software, so you don't have to crunch numbers yourself. You can just plunk them into our software and easily see if it's a deal or not a deal. And we had a programmer put this together for you. So this is definitely a real world value, $797. Okay, what about the legal forms and documents? This is very, very important. So I've spent thousands of dollars on legal contracts for Rent2Own. So I would say this is a very real world value of $1,197. It's actually worth a lot more than that. We've got legal contracts for British Columbia, where I'm based at. We also have them for Alberta. So if you're based in Alberta, we got you covered, and Ontario as well. Plus, if you're in any of the other provinces, don't worry about it. You just take these contracts to your real estate lawyer, have him tweak them slightly to make them work in your province with just the slight differences that there might be. So that is definitely a very real-world value of $1,197. Here's something cool that I put together. This is an awesome visual aid to give you a 30,000-foot overview of the entire Rent2Own process. It's my R2O Dealmaker Blueprint. This is a big poster that you can put up on your wall wherever you're doing your business, and make sure that you're following all of the steps in the right sequence so that you're not missing anything. Like I say, that's the big picture view of how the whole thing works. That's another real world value of $399 that's included as part of this program. Something very cool, I've taken a lot of home study programs. I've invested a lot of money in training over the years. I continue to do so to this very day. One of the things that ticks me off is when you buy a program, you get it, you're working through it, and then you've got questions. What do you do? So with a lot of home study programs, you're stuck. You've just got to kind of figure it out on your own. Not in this case. You've got my Freedom to Profit Unlimited online coaching. What does that mean? That means that anytime you've got a question, you can zap it to me, a special email address I've set up specifically for my Rent2Own students, and I will personally answer your questions and any concerns that you might have on the spot. So that's a phenomenal value, at least $995 value right there with that. Okay, how do you feel about this? Once you get up and running with your Rent2Own business and you're working on your first deal, do you think you're going to be a little bit nervous? Of course you are. So this is huge. This is my stamp of approval deal review. So when you're doing your first deal or your first couple of deals and you're just in the midst of things and you're nervous about it, you're not sure if you got the numbers right, you're not sure of this, you're not sure of the other thing, just fill out this quick little form, fax it to me or email it to me. I'll take a quick look over your deal and say approved or not approved, or here's what you need to look at, or here's what you need to tweak to make this a good deal. So how much money this could save you, how much money this could make you, hard to calculate. So real world value, priceless. I really wish I had something like this when I was starting with my real estate investing, that's for sure. So that's my stamp of approval deal review. Now, you're going to be getting all of this stuff. It's a lot to take in, so that's why we created the Fast Start Guide and CD, get you up and going quickly with the program. Again, get you that 30,000-foot perspective. Read this first when you get the program just to get the overview. So it's the guide and an accompanying audio CD as well, where I explain where to jump in, where to go going with that whole thing. So let's take a quick look at everything that's included with the program. So you got the Rent2Own Training University, $19.95 value. You've got all the recordings and the hard copy materials of everything, including the home study kit, $6.99 value, calculator and software, legal forms, contracts, paperwork, all there for you. You don't have to reinvent this. You don't have to find a lawyer to put it together for you. I've got it for you. You got the Rent2Own Dealmaker Blueprint, Freedom to Profit Unlimited online coaching. That is huge right there. Plus, you've got my stamp of approval deal review for a total value of over $6,400. Now, you might be looking at this and saying, yeah, right, sure, it's $6,477. It is. Trust me, I've taken lots of home study programs. I've invested in a lot of educational programs. I've seen a lot of people give a lot less for a lot more money. This is definitely a real value of $6,477. Let me ask you this. If all this system did was get you your first little Rent2Own deal and made you an extra $30,000 or $40,000, would it be worth the investment? If all this system did was get you 4 or 5 Rent2Own deals and replace your current work income so you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, would it be worth the investment? If all this system did was to show you how to become financially free and live life on your own terms, would it be worth it? How'd you like to have that now? Well, I'm going to make you a very, very special offer. It's not going to be $6,477. Our normal risk-free investment online is $2,497, but because you've invested the time and registered for this online webinar, I'm going to make you a very, very special offer. My webinar special pricing for right now is $1,497. Very important. This offer, this price is only valid until this Friday, July 13th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Then the price is going to go up $250 a week after that, just like it's advertised elsewhere. The other thing I have to let you know is we only have 27 of these home study programs put together right now, so the hard copies, and there are over just about 1,200 people registered for today's webinar. So it's really a first come, first serve type of thing. If you're after number 27, yes, you can still get the same deal. It's just going to take you longer to get the actual hard copies delivered to your door because we have to put the whole kits together. So if you're one of the first lucky 27, you get the program shipped to you right away. Canadian real estate investor reveals little-known secrets to fast profit from our fulfillment company. So we also have another offer for you. If you prefer, we also have a 2-pay option where you can get it for just 2 payments of $779, 21 days apart. So who likes, I want to give you the option for that as well if you need a little extra help there for that. So how can you get a hold of this? Go ahead and go visit Rent2Own cashsystem.ca. That's Rent2Own Cash System.ca, or you can call the number on the screen as well. And I'm going to keep going. This is going to show up again, so don't worry if you don't get it right now. Rent2Own Cash System.ca. So go ahead, fill that online enrollment form out right now. Enroll today. You're going to get immediate access to everything in the online university, so you can get started on your path immediately, tonight if you'd like. The rest of the package is going to arrive on your doorstep as fast as Canada Post can get it to you if you're one of the first 27 people to take advantage of this. Now, everybody's been ripped off by somebody. That's why I'm going to take all of the risk away from you and put it firmly on my own shoulders. This is my personal ironclad guarantee. Take action right now. Try the complete system for 90 days. If you're not overwhelmed at how easy it is to do this system, just send it back for a complete, no-hassle refund. But I know once you try it, you're going to see very, very powerful results, just like my other systems have, how my other students have. So we've got some people filling out the online enrollment form. I can tell that right now. The rest of you must be bargain shoppers, so let's sweeten the deal so more of you will take action right now and enroll now and get your own Rent2Own cash on demand system tonight. So here are some outstanding fast action bonuses for you when you enroll right away. So fast action bonus number 1 is an autographed copy of my new book, Rent2Own Profits for Canadians. So you get all of my strategies in there in basic format. I'm going to even personally autograph it and dedicate it just for you. So normally it sells for $24.95, but with that autograph and personal dedication, I'd say it's priceless. All right, fast action bonus number 2, this is huge, a personal Rent2Own strategy session with me. That'll be you and I getting together on the phone, going over where you're at, where you want to be, and what you need to do to get there. So this is not with one of my assistants. This is directly with me, you and I together on the phone, talking about where you're at, where you want to get. Here's something that's very, very cool. It's coming up right away in August 18th and 19th. This is the Rent2Own Profits Summit. We hold these events twice a year, and this is a ticket for you to attend what many are calling the hottest R2O real estate investing event in Canada. Now, this is live, 2 days of live training, small group setting, phenomenal networking. I've charged and gotten as much as $7,000 for seminars like this in the past, so a real-world value of $19.95 is definitely very realistic, and you get to bring a guest along for free. Now, something else is very cool with this particular Rent2Own Profits Summit, August 18th and 19th, is the fact that we got 4 special bonus sessions. So in addition to going over the quick implementation live training that we normally do, you're also going to get these 4 bonus sessions. First one is working with investors, what's working now. So there's exactly what Dan and I are doing to attract and work with our investors. Bonus session number 2, our biggest mistakes in Rent2Own and how to avoid them. So it's not enough just to show you what to do with Rent2Own real estate investing. Although it's embarrassing, it's very, very educational for you to learn what not to do. Save yourself a huge amount of time, effort, money on the learning curve by learning from our stupid mistakes, all right? I'll admit it right now. I've made some dumb mistakes. I don't want you to make them, so I'm going to be very, very transparent and show you exactly the mistakes I've made in the past and how you can avoid them. Bonus session number 3, a new R2O opportunity that my big brother Dan is investigating with pre-foreclosure properties. He's not investigating, he's actually doing this. So big R2O opportunity, how to do R2O with pre-foreclosure properties. Very, very cool. And a mystery guest who we've just defined who's going to be talking about getting our R2O clients financed, the easy button option for getting them lined up for financing at the end of the deals. So you're going to get a free ticket for this and for one guest. If you're interested in that, that's great. You have to RSVP right away because we're already 75% full, and you can only attend this event if you are a student with the Rent2Own Cash on Demand system. Now, the other cool thing is you've got lifetime reattendance. You can come back to any and all of our future Rent2Own Profit Summits that are coming up as well. So we've got a lot of people who came out to our first Rent2Own Profit Summit in January, coming back again in August. Why? Because we've got new material. There's new folks that are going to be at the event, and it's a phenomenal place to network and meet other like-minded people who are actually doing the Rent2Own business, who are active and doing it. So it's phenomenal for that. Give you a motivational, inspirational kick in the butt. Plus, it'll be phenomenal training live with myself and my other Rent2Own investor friends and cohorts. Now, here's an optional mega bonus. I mentioned before the importance of marketing for your rent-to-own business or any kind of real estate investing that you've done. So I've got my More Deals Now marketing system. This is a $2,116 value. This is all of my tips, tricks, and ideas, strategies, everything that I did, not only during the time that I was doing my 18 flips in 18 months, because everybody says, Dave, how did you do that? And it was all because of the marketing that I put out there. I did not do any of those deals through a real estate agent. I had motivated sellers contacting me. So how cool is that? How would you like to have people contacting you, very, very motivated to work with you, anxious for you to make an offer on their property? So whether you're doing rent-to-own real estate investing or any kind of real estate investing, the best deals are dealing directly with the sellers. So you're going to get this program for free as a bonus when you take a free 3-issue trial of our diamond level of Canadian Profits membership, and all the information about that is on the website when you're getting signed up. So this is a real world value of $2,116. This program alone is worth the entire price of admission right here. Okay, and then obviously we've got the same marketing systems that we're using right now for our rent-to-own business here in Kamloops. So again, quick recap on everything that's included in this program, including all of the new Fast Act bonuses that I just mentioned. We've got over $13,579 worth of value. Again, your investment today and until this Friday is only $1,497, is $1,497, or we've got the two-pay option, 2 payments of $779, which is available as well. So again, we've only got 27 sets of this program that are available at the moment. It's a first-come, first-served situation. If you're number 28, you still get the deal, but it's going to take you longer to get the actual physical home study program shipped to your door. Again, don't worry about that, though, because you're going to get instant online access to our online university, and everything is up there in digital format as well. So again, I'll ask you, if all this system did was get you your first little $30,000 deal, would it be worth the investment? If all this system did was get you 4 or 5 rent-to-own deals and replace your job income, would it be worth the investment? If all this system did was show you how to become financially free and live life on your own terms, would it be worth it? How'd you like to get that now? Now is definitely time. When is now the right time to invest in this program? Doesn't get any better than this. This 2-payment option is available right now, but it's only going to be available until Thursday. And then again, like I said, the entire price is going to go up on Friday by $250 a week for the next couple of weeks while we're doing this program. So I can see we've got a lot of people enrolling online right now. Congratulations. The rest of you must be real bargain hunters, or you're nervous about something. Again, we've got my guarantee. So you can try the whole thing out for 90 days, absolutely risk-free. If you don't like the color of the cover, you can send it back. If you get tired of listening to the melodious sound of my voice on the CDs or the DVDs, I won't take offense. You can send it back. If you try it out, if you get into it and you just realize that rent-to-own is really not for you, you're not interested in doing it, I appreciate you giving it a good try. Just send it back. You've got absolutely no risk whatsoever. That's my guarantee. But how would you like this? How would you like to get everything for free? So some people are sitting on the fence. How'd you like to get the whole thing for free? If you could get the whole thing for free, would you get it? Let's see some hands up. If you could get it for free, would you get it up? Would you get the program? Okay, a lot of people are saying that. So I'm going to show you how to get the whole thing for free. And this was something very, very innovative. This is my Rent2Own case study scholarships. And this is how this works. So you enroll in the program tonight, get immediate access online, start using this stuff, get the home study program, put what you learn to use. Do your first Rent2Own deal and send me your success story and some pictures. That's right. So do a deal, make some money, send me your success story, allow me to share your success story with other people to show other folks how this works. So you've seen all sorts of testimonials already. You've seen case studies. I want some more case studies of successful students because, again, this is a relatively new program. I want to really roll this out for everybody in Canada who's interested in Rent2Own. I need case studies to prove to people that normal, everyday folks can be very, very successful with Rent2Own real estate investing. So that's how it works. Do your first Rent2Own deal, share your story with me, and I will give you 100% of your investment in the program back to you. So that means you've got a deal and you've got the course for free. And this is valid for 12 full months from the day you invest in the system. So you've got a complete year to do your first deal. Share the details with me. Allow me to share your story with everybody else and get all of your money back. So you'll have a deal and the whole program for free. That's pretty cool if you ask me. All right, so here's some real comments from other folks just like you who took the program. Dave more than over-delivered on his promise to ensure that we're successful. This course is easily worth $5,000. I've paid much more for other courses and received 10 times less than what Dave has given. If you're thinking about taking the course, stop and just do it. I'm so glad that I did, and I don't regret a penny. Jeffrey Freed from Edmonton, Alberta. Another smash hit program, Dave. I went in hoping to expand my understanding of different types of real estate investing and came out with an operating business. You accomplish what you're constantly drilling into our heads, under promise and over deliver. That's Malcolm Setter from Fort McMurray. Malcolm and his wife Janelle, who are also going to be at the August summit here in Kamloops, they've done 4 deals up in Fort McMurray. Both of them quit their high-paying jobs and they're focusing full-time on rent-to-own real estate investing. They're definitely kicking butt and taking names. So good job for you guys. Dave, this has been a phenomenal course. If I had any doubts about going into this business, they're now gone, and you've prevented me, I'm sure, from many of the mistakes I would have made trying to do it by myself. This is from Ron Geddert from Abbotsford, BC. Ron's another massive action taker. He's going to be at the Rent2Own Summit as well. Ron, I believe, has 3 deals under his belt right now. He's getting over 1,000 visitors to his website every month. He's getting tons and tons of applications. He is doing this full-time as well, just doing phenomenal. So these are the kind of, when you take action, these are the kind of results you could see as well. Hey Dave, all I can say is I'm so glad I made the decision to get in on the program. You've definitely over-exceeded my expectations. The people who brought in on the calls I felt were an amazing addition. I truly feel like I should have paid 5 times what I paid for the training. Very well thought out program and excellent support throughout the modules. That's Rick Wheeler from St. Albert, Alberta, another gentleman, another student with 4 rent-to-own deals under his belt so far. Here's one I love. Thank you for all your efforts and hard work. That was frickin' amazing. I never thought I'd learn so much. I thought with all the seminars and networking I've been to, I never thought I'd learn more in a webinar. Anyone who comes across this, sign up quick before Dave figures out that it's worth more than you advertised it for. I would have paid double. Thanks again, Dave. And that's from Ray Cavallou, our good friend from Winnipeg, Manitoba. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed the presentation, that you've taken notes, that you've taken down those 5 steps to rent-to-own success. You've got as much value out of the presentation as I've had fun presenting it. It definitely has been a blast. I look forward to helping you on your path to financial freedom through rent-to-own real estate investing, either online or through our home study program or at the upcoming Rent2Own Summit, or even both. So thanks so much for your time. God bless, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.